The wisdom of the blind brother. A long time ago, in a small village, two brothers lived together. The elder brother was blind and stayed at home, while the younger brother worked in the fields. Unfortunately, animals often came to the fields, destroying the crops, which troubled the younger brother. One day, the younger brother came up with an idea. He thought, "Since my elder brother is blind, he can sit in the field and shout when he hears animals. That will scare them away." He built a small hut in the field and explained the plan to his elder brother, who happily agreed. From then on, the blind brother would sit in the field, listening carefully and shouting whenever he heard animals approaching. Days passed, and one day a deer ran through the field. A king, chasing the deer, stopped when he saw the blind brother. The king asked, "Did you see a deer running this way?" The blind brother replied, "I am blind, so I cannot see, but I can tell you that the deer you are chasing is not worthy of you." Surprised, the king asked, "How do you know this?" The blind man answered, "It was not a deer, but a pregnant doe. A king should not hunt a pregnant animal." The king sent his commander to confirm and found that the blind man was right. Amazed by his wisdom, the king asked how he had known this. The blind man explained, "I sit here all day and have developed sharp hearing. By the sound and movement I can tell what kind of animal it is." Impressed, the king invited the blind man to his palace. There, the king asked, "Can you tell me if my wife is faithful?" The blind man replied, "For that, I need to spend time alone with her." The king agreed. When alone with the queen, the blind man said, "I need to touch you." The queen, outraged, began beating him. The blind man fled to the king and said, "Your wife is not faithful." The king demanded proof. The blind man explained, "When I asked to touch her, she became angry and hit me. A truly faithful woman would never touch another man, not even to beat him." The king, now convinced of the blind man's wisdom, asked another question, "Am I truly my father's son?" The blind man replied, "You are your father's son, but the shadow of a miser lies over you." The king asked his mother, who confirmed the truth. Curious, the king asked the blind man, "How did you know I am a miser?" The blind man laughed and said, "You have asked me many questions, but you haven't rewarded me even once. That is why I said you are a miser." The king laughed and finally asked, "How do you know the thoughts of someone?" The blind man answered, "There are 3 ways to know someone's thoughts: by observing their eyes, studying their facial expressions, and paying attention to their body movements. These reveal the thoughts hidden in the mind." The king learned an important lesson from the wise blind man.